But two quick stories. I generally believe most people are good, majority of the time. And a lot of people will help you. And it's like, yeah, I don't shave and I might look homeless half the time because I just honestly don't give a rat's ass. But two quick stories. One, when when the issue that I have became more apparent that I had a neurological issue, I had to drive what I consider long distance to a friend so that he could do some computer work and make a video for an organization I was a part of. Well, I realized due to the stress and not sleeping that I was going to be there super early because I'd never been to his house before and I got pretty close. So I'm like, well, I'll burn some time and I'll eat something real quick now that I'm settled down. So I stopped at Chick-fil-A. And I thought I was doing okay until I sat down and then I realized how bad the convulsions were and the spasms or whatever. And realized my food hadn't come. So the guy came over and said, he sat down, the store manager, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine now. It comes and goes. And I said, "I know I have problems driving, but." He's like, "Do you have Tourette's?" And I said, "No, they don't know. They don't actually know what I have, but I have involuntary muscle movements and spasms and convulsions." And he says, "Well," he says, "we didn't bring your food because we're worried about you choking." And I was like, "Oh, that's not an issue. I'm okay now." And he said, "Do you mind if I just sit here with you while you eat? We can talk about different things." And I'm like, "Sure, no problem." They bring the food over, and I'm sitting there, just eating, and he's talking about different things. And but he was so worried. He knew something wasn't right, but he was so worried that I would have a convulsion and choke that he wouldn't let me eat in the restaurant without him sitting there with me. And I was like, I'm not going to be offended by that because what if I did choke? The liability alone for the restaurant, if they're video recording, like you let this guy eat a meal while he can't even, walk right. And he didn't even think that I was drunk or whatever. The second one is sometimes when you have a TIA or a mini stroke or a seizure, you can be having a normal day, and I was walking through Walmart. I had to go to the big Walmart up off the freeway, and for some reason, and like long narrow walkways, sometimes it does something with my brain. Plus I had to drive. And uh, I generally don't go all the way to the freeway by myself because I've had issues multiple times, but I had to do something that day. I don't do what I want to do. I do what I have to do and just the one thing and get home. But I had bought some other things since I was already at Walmart and walking out to the double doors, I knew I was about to have a bad event. Sometimes I can tell when they're coming on, and sometimes I can't. So I set what I had down because I just had one bag of stuff, and I had my walking stick, which should have been a fucking clue to somebody, right? And the stick fell down, and I put the bag down, and I just leaned up against the wall, and I think it was like a dry ice machine, some sort of chest freezer or cold machine, and I started going into a seizure. And I'm leaned up against the wall going into my seizure, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together because when you're awake during the seizure, it really sucks because mentally, you know what's going on sometimes. It's easier just to pass out and wake up, than it is to actually be awake while you're having it because you can't communicate. You lose the ability to control your speech. Hell, you concentrate on breathing the best you can so you don't pass out. Most people don't understand what it feels like to sit there and think, Okay, is my heart beating? Yes, my heart's beating. Am I breathing? I need to concentrate on breathing. You wouldn't naturally assume breathing would be something you would have to concentrate on. And not that you can do anything about it because your body's not under your control. And somebody, the assistant manager or whatever's ripping my ass while I'm in the middle of the event, and we don't allow drunk people in here. I'm going to call it, if you don't leave right now, I'm going to call the cops. And I'm like, I can't tell her I can't speak, and I can't tell her I can't walk. I'm doing everything I can just to lay up against this wall and this machine. And she thinks I'm drunk and call the cops. Fuck off, go do whatever you need to do. And finally, duration of probably 10 minutes, the cops never showed up. I collect my thoughts and I'm getting my stuff together. One of the ladies that was checking herself out was a black lady in her late 60s, the best I can figure. And she maybe weighed 85, 90 pounds. And she walks over with her cart and puts my food in her cart. And I think she's just stealing my shit and leaving, whatever. But turns out she reaches down next and picks up my stick and puts it up in my walking cane and puts it up against the wall and said, "Son, are you okay?" And I motioned no. And I'm slowly getting my stuff back. Sure enough, here comes this damn manager. Now that I'm starting to be able to speak again, and I'm like, "Just go away, dude. Just fuck off," And the lady's like, "Are you having a seizure?" And I'm like, "Well, they don't know what I'm having. It's either a stroke or a seizure, but nobody's been able to verify." And by this time, it's probably 50. She's with me for about 5 minutes, so 15 minutes into it. And I said, "All I have to do is get to the car, and I'll just wait in the car until I'm able to drive." And so she's like, "Well, do you need me to help you walk to the car?" And I'm like, I'm almost 300 pounds. I'm going to crush this poor little woman. I said, "No, I don't want to hurt you." So there I'm finally walking. Most people have never had to learn to re-walk or wait till their muscles functioning to where they can walk relatively straight. And I've got to the cane and I'm leaning up against stuff as I'm going out the door, but I'm trying to get to the car before the damn cops show up. And it becomes an issue because he thinks I'm drunk or high on something, and she knows that I'm having a medical issue. So she's like, can you open your trunk with your key?" So I open my trunk and she puts my groceries in and I sit down. And I didn't even turn on the car. The door's open and I'm sitting down. And I said, "Thank you, lady, for your help. I can't believe, people are that mean that, they naturally assume that you're drunk or whatever." I said, "The cane should have been a dead giveaway that I was having issues, let alone, convulsing up against the wall. I'm pretty sure it was quite scary." And she's like, "Well, I watched you and you didn't fall, but I noticed you were having problems and you dropped your groceries and then you dropped your cane. But out of all the people in the entire Walmart that were obviously watching me, nobody at one here the assistant store manager or whatever is sitting there ripping my ass because she thinks I'm drunk and she's going to call the cops if I don't leave. Okay, I can't tell you that I'm having an event, and I can't tell you that, just give me a couple of minutes." But the one person that helped me out, little old black lady that I outweighed 3 times, and I didn't even realize that she had picked up my groceries. I had gotten to the car and I wasn't even thinking about the bag of groceries that I had, and she she's like, "Well, I restacked my stuff in my bag, and because your bags, they should have double bagged yours because you ripped it whenever you dropped it." And I'm just laughing. I'm like, "Well, normally you wouldn't drop the bag." And I said I was only in there for a few things, and I had to do something at the customer service booth or whatever, or else I wouldn't have come this far to Walmart. But she stayed with me the whole time. And it was like, there was another time where I was driving home and I knew I was going to have issues and I wasn't going to make it. So I pulled into the convenience store that I know, and it happened to be right across from the fire department. And I roll all the windows down and I turn the car off in case something happens and I go to convulsing. I don't want to hit something or whatever. And I'm just sitting there and this man shows up and he's a firefighter. And he's like, are you having a medical situation? I'm like, yeah. And I said, he says, we've been watching you. And he's like, are you on any drugs? Did you take any street drugs? And I'm like, no, I just know I'm going to pass out. So I pulled over. And he's like, well, you know, have you had anything to drink? You've been here for a while. And I'm like, yeah, I could take something to drink. And I said, just Dr. Pepper. And he's like, no, you need a water or Gatorade. And I was like, well, a blue Gatorade with no red dye in it. I'm allergic to red dye. I said, I'll drink a Gatorade. And so I don't know where he went, but he comes back with a blue Gatorade. And I'm sitting there drinking it. And he's like, well, you probably need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, no. All I got to do is make it around the corner and I'm home. I said, I'm going to sit here for a while until I recover. I said, I've done this before multiple times. This isn't new. I said, I just felt it coming on this time and instead of just blacking out. So that's actually 3 stories. So a couple of days later, I happened to be in that area. I stopped by the fire department. In a time span that I thought was like 3 or 4 minutes, and I was like, you know, hey, can I talk to the chief of the fire station? And he's like, oh yeah. So he comes out and I said, hey, you know, I had an issue where I was sitting across the road, and one of your firefighters helped me because I was having issues, neurological issues. And he's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't drive anymore. And I was like, yeah, that's an issue. I was like, but I wanted to thank the guy. And he's like, oh, he's not working. He's on his off schedule. And I said, I'm glad that he stayed with me for a couple of minutes. And he's like, sir, he was out there for about 45 minutes waiting for you to recover. He's like, he was talking on his radio with us, or had it on an open mic, whether or not we needed to get the ambulance. He's like, you were out there for almost an hour. And I was like, well, I lose track of time. And, you know, he says, the only reason why you recovered is he saw something in your eyes that he knew, you know, you were back. He's like, it was like a switch went off. And I said, well, I got a Gatorade from somewhere. Did he come to the shop to get a Gatorade, or did he go in the store? Because I never paid for the Gatorade. He says, don't worry about that, because I had cash on me. And, you know, I was like, who do I owe money to? And he's like, don't worry about it. You know, it never happened. He's like, we'll put it in his record that he went beyond his duty, because he was leaving and they were watching me from the store, you know, as they were cleaning the engine, and he was on his off time, so he went over there and helped you out. I mean, imagine clocking out of work and then seeing a medical emergency happening right across the damn street and staying there for 45 minutes. I was like, well, if he gets an award, I'd love to be there and give it to him and shake his hand and thank him. I said, you know, I was like, technically he didn't save my life, but it was nice of him to take 45 minutes after his, you know, 12-hour shift, or 3 days on, 2 days off, whatever y'all got going on here. But I wanted to thank somebody and pay for the Gatorade. And he said, man, it was worth the show. He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, the Gatorade's on us. The boys all had, the boys paid for your Gatorade. And we were taking bets whether or not you were going to pass out or make it home. I said, oh yeah, whenever I snap back in, you know, to now, once the time delay in the body catches up, once I snap back into right now, I'm okay. I just got to go home and try and sleep. But that's the difference with society. It's like half the people, if you're different or having an issue, want to wade into you and get the cops involved when it's a medical issue. And then the people that you think are least productive in society and don't like you or hate you or whatever, they're the first ones to help. You know, here's this little old lady that I could crush, you know, if I fell over, and she wouldn't let me let go of the basket while I'm walking to my car and loading my. I should be helping her put her groceries in the car, and she's telling me what to do because she realized I'm not there yet. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to sit here until I recover and go. So it's not like I'm just some random guy that's out there that doesn't understand when I encounter a situation, okay, should I help with this? Is this a criminal offense? Is this something that needs to be helped? I'm always picking shit up off the fucking floor so nobody trips on it because my mother had her hip replaced. You know, those little leaflets in the store or trash bags or fucking onion, you know. So it's like I go out of my way now that I realize, okay, you know, these are situations that need to be dealt with. You know, this is where I need to help when I need to help. And I'm not so quick to wade into somebody or call the cops over something that is a medical issue. You know, so that's just something to think about. You know, sometimes in life you may have to stand there with somebody for 45 minutes and help them out on a friggin' random Tuesday. And sometimes people that appear normal or appear drunk might be having a medical issue and might just need a couple of minutes to recover. And when you're having seizures or convulsions or neurological events or TIAs or strokes, they may not be able to communicate with you. They may be out of their damn minds because they're trying to concentrate on breathing and trying to communicate to you that they can't talk. So when you encounter a situation, nobody wants to get involved anymore because nobody wants to help and nobody wants to injure, nobody wants to be sued. You know, that's what our society is. By God, if there's a problem, you're it, and we're calling the cops when they should have called the damn ambulance. When there's all these able-bodied men and women around, and the only person to help you is a 68-year-old black woman that maybe weighs 80 pounds, and here's this David versus Goliath, and she's helping me to my car and tending my groceries. So I understand. And we need to take a moment and realize sometimes you got to go out of your way to help people because one day somebody might need to be there to help you. And if we don't get involved and we don't help each other and it becomes a damn leave now or I'm calling the cops, hell, the cops never showed up. I don't even know if they called the cops. So it's not that I don't understand and I don't have empathy for other people and I haven't been in situations myself where other people have helped me wait until I recover from an event. I understand. Trust me, I understand. Sometimes in life, people just need to calm down and help one another. And if I've learned anything past that is, yeah, slow down. Help. You know, I know you have kids at home that you need tending to, and the milk's getting needs to be put in the refrigerator and shit's freezing. But sometimes humanity is more important, and people that are normally your greatest allies turn out to be your enemies, and your enemies turn out to be your greatest allies. We're all in this shit together. Love you. Go with God.